Insurance company blames pedestrian for the accident. See how we got it turned around. We're here today to talk about one of your recent client victories, one of your clients, HB. How did this accident start? What happened?
Well, he was actually a pedestrian in this case. It was late evening, about a little bit after 10 o'clock, right outside of Charlotte. There's the 277 freeway that goes around Charlotte. He was walking down the street near one of those off ramps and was hit by a vehicle that was traveling towards the on ramp to get on the 277. And he was hit very hard, and he ended up being in the hospital for about 2 months.
So a lot of times on pedestrian cases, the police come out to the scene and it's not uncommon for them to find the pedestrian at fault. Was this action report written up that way, or were the police on his side from the very beginning?
Actually, it's the first thing you mentioned. They didn't find anyone at fault at the scene, and we got an initial denial letter from the insurance company saying that their insured, the driver of the small SUV, was not at fault.
And that's pretty common in these pedestrian type cases. We found is the pedestrians hurt so bad they don't get to tell their side of the story, or when the police are there, they don't assign any fault at all. But it sounds like when you got that denial letter, we just kept going with the case and didn't just back down or withdraw.
We did. There was some language in the accident report that didn't help us by saying it was a poorly lit area and she was unable to see. I found that a little bit strange because I knew the area where this occurred, and I used Google Maps, and I went on Google Maps, and I knew it was dark out when it happened. But if you took Google Maps and you did some freeze frames, you not only saw lots of street lamps, but you saw businesses also, fast food restaurants, things that are lit up at night. So I knew that wasn't the case. They were just trying to get their case open and closed and didn't want to find anyone at fault. So I used those Google Maps, took screenshots, highlighted the area, and resubmitted a demand to the insurance company saying it was well lit. And, obviously this person didn't intend to hit our client,
right,
but she did. And that's what insurance is for. And basically you need to give us your insured's money from the policy, because our client will have injuries for the rest of his life.
Well, thank goodness you sort of, I don't want to say took that extra step, because it seems like everybody should do that, but thank goodness you did do that and didn't just take it at their word, basically on the AR. And did that research and got that proof even, from Google Maps and submitted it. It sounds like that was sort of the key to convincing the insurance company to take care of this client and pay for their injuries and damages. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I think it was just a little bit of investigating that the police didn't do, or didn't put in their report, or didn't want to deal with, by having to file the report with someone at fault. Because if they find that person at fault and give a citation, there's a court case. And then you're dealing with a very severe injury case, and it's a lot more work. So
yes,
it was. Go ahead.
I was going to just ask, what were the injuries that your client suffered?
Brain injury.
Wow. Okay.
Broken bones and things like that. But what kept him in the hospital was the brain injury.
Wow. And about how long was he in the hospital right after the accident? Do you remember?
About 2 months at least. And
wow.
Then he went to an aftercare facility.
So we're dealing with massive injuries, and the insurance company from day one is like, hey, this is not our fault. We're not going to pay anything. Is that right?
Correct.
Well, ultimately, it sounds like you convinced them that they needed to pay by doing some research and some evidence gathering, I guess.
Yeah.
Ultimately, how did your client or your client's family feel at the settlement?
They were very happy. They were concerned because they knew the insurance company was denying the claim, and this helped him get back on his feet.
So they knew basically from early on that the insurance company was fighting over the whole thing and didn't want to pay at all.
They knew, my client knew the cops were not going to take his side.
Okay. All right. And the cops didn't, the insurance company didn't, but you managed to get a great settlement on the case. I think you got the full policy limits on this particular case as well, Carrie, is that right?
I did. And one other thing we also did, which helped, is I pulled a driving record on the person who hit our client, and she'd had a previous accident also. So
okay.
That I also combined with the area, the fact that she had been in an accident again, and I believe the accident was after the one that we were representing.
Okay.
Mr. B for, but it didn't look good for her. So
Right.
that combined with photos of the area and an area right near uptown Charlotte that's heavily traveled at all times of the day. It's an equivalent of Independence Boulevard. We're not
And-
talking a remote road.
No, and that's one of the arguments we've used in the past as well, when somebody says, well, I didn't expect a pedestrian here. You know, you just go back to common sense or what everybody knows about an area and be like, what, if you drive through it a lot, you should know that it's a busy area and that there are going to be people around, and you know, all hours of the day and nights. So that driver's history you got, it showed a second accident after this one. So pretty much said she's not a careful driver. She didn't learn a lesson from putting this person in the hospital, and she continued to drive not carefully, is what I'll say.
Correct. I used my wording carefully on that. Yeah.
So it sounds like you did some great detective work, got some policy limits on this particular case, which is the most money that was available from the insurance company. The client got it. And I think you said that this money actually helped sort of set him up for his recovery kind of deal. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, he'd been in a financially difficult position. I mean, usually people who are walking around at 11 o'clock at night outside of uptown don't have a car.
Right.
So he was able to get, with this money, help him get into some low income housing. And when I spoke to him last time, he was in the low income housing and he had this money to help get him on his feet again.
Very happy with the results.
He was very happy, correct.
Well, it sounds like you did a great job, Carrie. Sounds like, I don't want to say changed his life, but certainly helped him get back on his feet and recover from a terrible accident. But also sounds like he wasn't in the best spot even before the accident, and this sort of set him up for the next phase of his life, maybe, or, you know, at least the next season or two, so he can do better.
Correct.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Remember, to our listeners, if you're in pain, call Shane, 980-999-9999.
In pain, call Shane.
980-999-9999. 980-999-9999. Shane Smith Law. In pain, call Shane.